Hi, I'm Mackenzie Adams, and this is New York District's 2024 Engineering Roundtable. I'm going to go around the table and have everybody introduce themselves, starting with you.
My name is Brandon Sinclair. I'm a technical manager in engineering division in the civil works section.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Tenzin Kunchak, specification engineer in New York District. And before that, I was a mechanical engineer in New York District.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Ellie Greenblatt. I'm a coastal engineer in the Civil Resources branch in the engineering division.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm going to start with you. If you can just kind of share a little bit about how you became an engineer.
Yeah. That's a big answer.
Okay, we can, well, however you want to take it.
You go to college and you get a degree in engineering, right? There's a million steps along that way. Just to kind of prep for this, my notes was that's kind of how you become it. To be an engineer, you maintain it, right? Lots of folks can get the degree in engineering, and if you go get an MBA and get into business, you truly do lose a little bit of that. It's tough even, not to sound self-important, but you take a week off of vacation for the holidays and you come back and you almost like forgot how to ride the bike, right? It really is something that needs to be maintained through training, lunch and learns, webinars, staying up to date on modern industry, what the latest innovations are. Being an engineer, is doing engineering, and for that reason too, I'll even emphasize it. Back when I was in private industry, we had some drafters who sat side by side the design engineers, but did not have the engineering degree. They were no more or less an engineer than the people that were with us. So for me, the way I would answer that question is really by simply doing engineering, right? So the college degree is I'm intentionally not really diving into those steps. Ken, if that's
no, I think that's great. That kind of gives you a little bit of insight. And kind of to you, how did you get into engineering? What kind of led you down that path?
I guess I can say I was just curious how things works, and I like to pick stuff apart and then find out what it makes it tick, right? And look into problems, see if I can solve anything out of it, or even make it better. So in that path, I kind of gradually went on, and then found out that I'm more interested in the mechanical stuff. So this is how I got into when I went to college, I went to the mechanical side, and then when you get into mechanical, you can branch out to different sections. You can go into automotive industry, space, anything, and then I loved one of my masters that I did was on heat transfer, so I went to HVAC, so which landed me here when I was designing HVAC systems. So I guess this is how I got into curious, love how things works, love to learn, and I guess that sums it.
Perfect. Ellie, would you agree with your colleagues, and kind of why did you choose to become an engineer with USACE?
So actually, I almost became an architect. Don't tell them. But I studied civil engineering, was maybe going to be mechanical also, and I kind of started as an internship somewhere in a private industry, and I kind of just settled into civil engineering then, and yeah, I did those times in the private industry, and you kind of learn what it's like to be an engineer. And then, I did my master's and came here, and it's definitely an environment, like Brandon says, that you need to keep doing engineering in order to be an engineer.
Yeah, awesome. That kind of answers my next question, which is, what would you like people to know about the engineering field? And Brandon, if you want to take this one, other than doing engineering, what would you like people to know about this field?
Well, it kind of segues nicely into what Ellie just said. My secret that we don't tell anybody, but we're going to set a camera in the whole district, is that I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm an HVAC guy. And I had an entire career in private industry before I came here. And I would do coastal engineering. We talk about geotech and soils and all this stuff where I've been faking it until I make it for a while now. It's way outside of my expertise, and the refrigeration cycle hasn't come up once, Tenzin. It's crazy, right? But here we are, and so that's the point. If you come and you work here, if you're an engineer here, you can have a limitless career path. What you can do on Monday morning probably ain't going to be what you do on Tuesday afternoon. And if in 10 years from now you want to go and pursue, you know, something crazy, something that's not even what your degree is in, you really have an opportunity here to, you know, dive headfirst into that type of a project, surrounded by people that are experts in that field, and you're going to learn, you know, as much as you're willing to learn, which is, again, limitless, right? It's truly how much you're willing to take on. And so that's you know, the engineering field in general, that's especially true here. You know, aside from civil works projects, I've gotten to be, you know, the TM for a ton of Milcon projects, which is more my expertise. It's vertical construction, it's building. I was like, all right, let's go. You know, I could take my training wheels off and get something that I'm a little more comfortable with. But in this job, in this position, this one singular role that I have, you're able to kind of dip your feet into a lot of different places. So if there's one thing to know about the engineering field, it's that you'll never get bored as long as you're curious in mind and willing and interested in taking on more work.
That's great. And that, you know, you mentioned a couple of points that brings me to my next question for Tenzin, which is what kind of projects have you worked on with the Corps of Engineers? Just to name a few.
Oh yeah, a ton of them. When I was working as a mechanical engineer, I was designing HVAC system for offices, data center. Also worked on plumbing systems. You know, you have like temporary systems, and you name it, it's there. But as a spec engineer, I work with different. I want to say civil and Milcon. That's right. So you have civil process, which is totally different than the Milcon process. We have in civil section we have coastal, beach nourishment, flood mitigation, and in the like in the Milcon side, you have all the vertical buildings or vertical projects, buildings, and so it's a whole lot of different projects that comes together as a spec where you have your eyes on all over, and that's what interests me when I work as a spec engineer, where I go into a day-to-day operation of what goes on in the field offices and how it all ties together. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I think that we're kind of wrapping up here, but I'll just ask Ellie one more question. What would you tell somebody potentially interested in coming to work for the Army Corps of Engineers that might be on the fence? What are some of the things that you might tell them or share with them?
So I'll tell you why I came here is I studied coastal. I did a master's in civil with a focus in coastal, and the Army Corps is the biggest coastal, I guess you can say, company out there. ERDIC down in Vicksburg writes all of the specifications and the guidelines for coastal engineering that everyone in the United States holds by. We also do the coolest modeling, and you know, we set the standards for coastal engineering, and that's kind of what pulled me to the Corps, is that I knew this is the field I wanted to go into, and this is where I wanted to work. But it does, as the Corps in itself, offer a lot more opportunities than that. You can do military, you can do civil works, there are positions you can take in Europe sometimes, there are positions you can take in other states. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities, especially during like emergency response that the Corps does. So it definitely can open up your work experience and those connections that you can make a lot more. It also has the benefits of being a government job, you know, 9 to 5, steady, you know, hours, but it does allow you to be a better engineer with the different types of programs and everything that you see. Generally, when you work in a firm, they specialize in a lot of things. Or even if you don't they specialize and you don't, that's kind of what you're doing the entire time. You're just doing civil, you're just doing geotech or mechanical. But here you can kind of work in all these different fields in different locations and in different areas, and you can meet all of these people, and it's kind of like a larger company and not just like a small office that, even though we're just here in New York.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. I just want to see if anybody else had anything to add before we kind of close out here.
If I may.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Just to add a little bit to that, you know, so while Ellie's, you know, education is almost like, you know, a pathway towards USACE, right? You
Yeah.
hear about USACE as you're doing your, undergraduate and graduate studies. I had no idea what this place was. I thought the Corps engineers was the men and women who cleared the way for the warfighter in the battlefield. I really did. How did I get here? I have no idea. I blinked. I just, wound up in a chair here, and I'm grateful for it.
Oh, I sat on GSA and loaded until there was a coastal position.
Totally different. I just walked into, a career fair and spoke with Bob Garretts for about 15 minutes, and the next thing I knew, I was working here. So, a little bit more on the types of projects we work on. I'm a little bit passionate about it, so I do want
Absolutely,
to kind of
share.
talk about it for a minute. Is like you said, we can get these emergency response projects, and we have teammates who, when the Maui fires hit, got the phone call and headed out there. Whenever a hurricane is standing by, you can take pride in knowing that this district is full of people who are ready, willing, and able to just go and leave their families for whatever amount of time is required and go support Americans who are affected by that, like our fellow Americans. And we're just doing that all the time. And we have these big, huge projects, and we're all working, together. And you can not even notice sometimes that people are just going out and doing these incredible things. But our projects are incredible, right? Like I loved HVAC. I thought it was going to be the next 50 years of my life. But here I am getting all excited about all these,
Dredging.
levee, flood walls, pump stations. We drive around the Northeast, and I'm like, that's my project. That's, Rita's project. That's a project that we built in the 50s. And I'd never heard of this office and what they do, and it is literally put in place. The best thing about the Corps is if you never even hear about our project. There will be people that live in our protected areas, right, behind our levee, and our pump station's protecting them, and they don't actually really know fully what we do. And that's okay, right? That's a public relations issue. It gives me great pride from the engineering, to go out to a real project. I've worked as an engineer where, an extremely, financially sound developer says, can you build this for me? And okay, you work your tail off to get it. Here we actually built something that is going to protect lives and people, lives and property. It's just exciting to be working on something like that. The scale of the projects, I also want to note, is just unbelievable. I thought I worked in big projects in private, and I did, to an extent. But if $5 to $10 million sounds like a big project, we would pray for a project that small here. And we've got, tons and tons and tons of, this contract's $50 million, this contract's $150 million, this project's $2 billion. It is incomprehensibly big. And so is the impact. And so it's just rewarding that, for you put in the work, you put in the sweat. It's just nice that it's for something that matters. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I left private industry for a reason. And if it was any one reason, it was that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that note. Thank you so much for sharing. Anything else before we close out, guys? I really appreciate you guys coming here and talking to me today. Thank you so much. And that's all that we have. Thank you.